Hey guys, today we are working on a Briggs and Stratton engine from 1943. It's the ZZ engine. If you can see, if my camera will focus. It has no spark, and this is a pretty big, beefy engine. Very, very, very heavy. We need to take this cover off and check the points. I've already loosened this flywheel bolt right here. You will definitely need a impact gun to get these off. So once I remove last of these few bolts, I will remove this cover, and then my plan is to look at the points, maybe just file the points down slightly, and then see if we have some type of spark. So once the cover is removed, the points are going to be around here somewhere behind this cover. So now we have to take off this monster flywheel. This engine is very big. It's very heavy too. So I'm going to try to get this flywheel off. I'm going to hit it a few times with a hammer, so I can just work it loose. I do have a flywheel puller, but I think it will not work on this size flywheel. So the flywheel came off surprisingly easy. I just threaded the flywheel nut back on here and just tapped it a few times with a hammer, and it came right off. And this is really heavy. This is another flywheel from another small engine. You can just see the difference. It's pretty crazy. And then, I was wrong about the points. The points are not behind here. The condenser is right here, and the points are right here. So I'm going to clean the points up as best I can and see if we have a spark. So there's a cover that goes right here that comes off after removing this bolt right here that holds the cover in place. If you look at the points, all those crusties right there, I'm gonna clean all those off, and then we'll give it a whirl and see what happens. This is the magneto, or the coil. Hopefully that's in good shape, because if it's not, I have no idea where we would even find a coil for this vintage engine. So I'll be back once these points are all cleaned up. So I did notice another issue. Got the points cleaned off, but there was a plunger right there where it's supposed to move up and down to open and close the points. And right now it's frozen in place. I'm going to try to rotate the crank. See, the points are not even moving. So, gotta take it all apart and see what the holdup is. So the plunger is out. Just need to clean this up. It's got some rust on it, and then put it back in. Make sure it moves freely. Then we'll get the points reattached. So I managed to sand down the plunger. Okay, so I managed to get this back together. For the plunger, I just used some different grit sandpaper. Clean the points up with a nail filer. And now you can see, open and closed. Again, sorry for the poor camera work. One day I will invest in a camera stand. So next thing to do is to get the flywheel back on and spin the flywheel by hand and see if we get a spark. Alrighty guys, this has been more of a challenge than anticipated. After cleaning up the points in that plunger, we still had no spark. So I ohmed out the points when they were closed, and we ohmed out good, so no issue doesn't lie there. We also ohmed out the wiring from the magneto to ground, and that was good. And then ohmed out the wiring from the points to the condenser, and that was good. So what that left me with was the high tension lead that goes from the magneto to a spark plug. So what I did, used some test wires, one to the plug that is clamped to ground, and the other piece of the wiring goes to the magneto where this goes. And now if I rotate this, we should see a spark. Hopefully the camera's picking this up. So now my next challenge is how am I going to replace this? I'm not too sure if an automotive one will work from a vehicle because the insides are different. So I'm going to see if I can possibly repair this one and see if we can get this one working. So this is how I wired the spark plug up. So again, clip under here, clip to ground, and then it goes behind the case, and it's right here is how I wire this one up to test the coil out. Alrighty guys, I believe I found the issue. So when I removed this piece here that clips onto the spark plug, I was left with this, and there was no wiring coming from the high tension lead. So I just, this is from the bottom part that goes to the coil, and this is a piece that goes to this piece here that clicks onto the spark plug. Now when I ohm out from here to here, we have continuity. So I'm going to put this back onto the engine and see what happens. So the original high tension lead is reinstalled. This is not a break, it's just a sheathing. Let's see if we've got any spark now. Just have to do it with one hand. There you go. Alrighty guys, so we have spark, and it still will not run on any alternative fuel. I have noticed though that the flywheel seems a little bit too easy to spin by hand. So I removed the valve cover and I found this. 1 second. Can you guys see that? The exhaust valve is stuck. So guess what we got to do now? Pull the cylinder head off and pull the valve out and see what happened. Also, with us taking it all back apart again, I'm probably going to make sure the points gap is 20 thousandths, which is what the service manual calls for. So I'll take care of that really quick and then we'll pull the cylinder head. Alrighty, so I just gapped the points to 20 thousandths. So that's all taken care of. Again, just remove this, and you will need 2 1/4-inch wrenches and adjust the points when they're fully open to get 20 thousandths. Now to pull the cylinder head off, I've never done one of these before. It looks like moving these bolts here. I should be able to slide the head off without too much trouble. There doesn't seem to be anything else really holding this on. This is already loose. This tin piece right here. So I'm going to remove these 1/2-inch bolts, and then hopefully I can slide the head off. So after removing those 1/2-inch bolts, I was able to slide the cylinder head underneath the gas tank brace. The cylinder head doesn't look too bad. I do have a new head gasket here for it already. This one isn't in too bad of a shape, but I may as well just replace it whilst the cylinder head is off. There's actually not much carbon buildup, which is kind of surprising for an engine from 1943. So next step is to get my shop vac, take care of all this debris around here. Let's have a look inside the cylinder bar. It doesn't look bad at all, actually. There's actually evidence of cross hatching on the cylinder walls, which is kind of unusual unless this engine's already been serviced and rebuilt once before. Everything looks pretty clean though. So again, we'll take care of all this dirt around here, and then get these valves out, and then see what the holdup is on the exhaust valve. It's probably just a carbon buildup or rust from being sat for so long. So before I get too carried away removing these valves, let me just show you what's going on. So intake comes up, and the exhaust valve is just completely stuck. So to get the exhaust valve down, I just sprayed some penetrating lubricant down the valve stem and just gently tapped it with a dead blow plastic hammer. And then I rotated the crankshaft a few times, and now the valve is opening and closing as it should. But again, you want to do this the right way. So we're going to pull the valve out, clean it, polish it, lap it. Most of you guys have seen a valve spring compress tool. Just gotta set it up, tighten down, just leave it right here, and once the valve spring is compressed, then just remove the keepers and pull the valve out. So this is the exhaust valve that's been removed from the engine. The face and the margin look pretty good, so I'm just going to clean this up, polish it, and then make sure it slides back down the valve guide okay. If it doesn't, I may need to invest in a valve guide reamer tool. But fingers crossed, once this is cleaned up, it will just slide back down. The exhaust valve is all nice and cleaned up. As you can see, pretty much just falls back down. So next step is to lap the valve, set the valve lash, and then we will do the same on the intake. Get it all back together, and hopefully this time with some alternative fuel the engine will run. Obviously the carburetor will probably need to be rebuilt too, but I'm thinking if we just spray some starting fluid, it should at least try to start. So both valves are installed and lapped, and valve clearance was set. The spec was between 19 and 21 for the intake, so I set mine 20, and the spec for the exhaust was between 19 and 17 thousand inch, so I set mine at 18 thousand inch. So next step is to clean this cylinder head off and clean the mating surface, and then put the head bolts back in, torque to us the spec, and see what happens. Right now we just need to torque these bolts down to spec. The valve cover is back on, and then I'll reassemble the flywheel off camera, and then we'll try to start the engine. The engine is pretty much all back together. The blower housing is back on, pulley's back on. I had to replace one bolt because the threads weren't the greatest. I purchased this at my local hardware store. The torque spec for the cylinder head bolts was 190 inch-pounds. Spark plug is in. Valve cover is back on, as you guys know from the previous section. Next is the carburetor. I believe when you work on these, you've got to remove the main jet screw first, so I'm just going to back it off right here. And once you pull this out, you remove the rest of the bolts on top, and then I'm going to clean it the best I can, put it back together and see what happens.